Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a bit of live commentary on my highlight games from the Blitz Titled Arena. So yeah, my record against this guy isn't that great. It's 0-3. So we're gonna try to win some games back. So yeah, here we're just playing a classical Carol Khan with the H4 H5 and swap on D3. And here he takes with the C pawn. That's kind of a very strange decision by him. Yeah, and he goes King F1. Very strange. Um, yeah, here I think I missed Bishop F4 by him, but he didn't capitalize on it. I guess I quickly just try to get the queens off in my weird idea. Um, Trying to get my knight on D5 the next move. Yeah, so I think White has kind of a weird position here. He has some space, I guess, but his pawn structure is a bit suspect. And yeah, here I think he plays A3 here. From what I remember, yeah, he does. But the issue is, I'm thinking of bishop takes E5, but takes A takes B4, bishop D6, rook takes A7, bishop takes B4. Not sure how great it is for me, but here I think I just went for something safer, which was taking the bishop and bringing my king to E2. Yeah, so here we should be playing for C file. He probably should have doubled, try to double on the C file before I do. Now he's kind of giving me some play on the C file. And yeah, I think I went rook C7 and he has to take. And we're going to reposition our bishop to B6 with rook D8 in mind. And yeah, here our position is okay, but I think it's very hard to play for a win here. Unless he starts making weakness like this and king F6. Put some pressure on F5. And if knight D, I guess knight E5, we even have rook takes D4 or rook E7. So here, do I put in a check? I think I just went. Yeah, so bishop A7, not really sure about it. It's a bit of a waiting move. Yeah, so here is kind of weird. He weakens his dark squares significantly, and now even gives me loses a knight to me. And here, I guess I could have just took his pawn, but I didn't want counterplay. I mean, rook E3 here would have been great, take on D3 and hitting E6, but rook E7 here, and now, yeah. Do it the slow way after all. And I'm going to mop up the pawns on this queen side. Yeah, so he's going to hit my bishop. Was my idea B3 and try to get there before him? Yeah, I guess I was giving the bishop back so I could end his counterplay and force his rook to be at B1 after rook takes C5, B3, rook C1, B2, rook B1, B6, but yeah. I don't know why I did this, so I guess my idea wasn't that at the time. I just kind of played poorly, but this should still be a win. So here I'm just kind of playing kind of weird. The conversion isn't the cleanest in the last, I don't know, 10 or 20 moves. But it should be a win. And I'm gonna, I guess, try to mop up the pawns. Bring my king to f6. Yeah, and gonna get the remaining 2 white pawns. And yeah. I'll hide my king from checks and just push the h pawn to victory. Need to watch my time because I don't have that much left, but it's, yeah, I'm getting in a bit of a time scramble here. Oh wow, and I dropped my h pawn. That's kind of stupid. Yeah, I might lose some time, but now I have to promote the other one. 2 seconds. Now I got 1 second. GG. So here we both go berserk, so the game time for both of us is going to be halved. I get into a reverse dragon position in the English. And I go for the e3 f4 plan, which I'm not sure how viable it actually is in this position. My king is going to be a bit exposed, so I take on e5, and after king takes g2, he takes on e5. Yeah, my pawns are going to be a bit of a target, and I'm a bit behind in development. I'm going to move my queen out of the pin. And I'm going to kick the knight. Just bring my knight up. And I'm not sure if I like this push. Yeah, so bishop g5 doesn't really work here, I think. I went to e5, which also not sure about that. Yeah, I think this is just not that great of a position for white, but I might be wrong. I'm just trying to hold the center, which is kind of vulnerable. We do have some space advantage. And I think if he takes on c3, I'm going to take back on c3 with the pawn. We're both, you know, under a minute. And queen c4 looks kind of reasonable. And I bring my, can't really think of moves here, that's why I bring my bishop back to c1. I'm getting my king out of the checking distance on f4, e3, which exposes my queen on c4 to queen e6. And here I take back with the knight. And yeah, protect the pawn. Yeah, my king side is kind of exposed. Yeah, here. Yeah, we drop a piece and he can take on g1, but he didn't. Lucky us. So now it's a bit of a time scramble. And get into this endgame, which seems quite interesting. He does have the side pawns, but we have the central pawns. And yeah, looks like I get to mop up his pawns. And we're going to have a checkmate here. So this is also a berserk game against a national master who's almost 2400. We play a very solid semi-slab structure, but we do have a bit of a space disadvantage. Here I take on c4 when you try to swap off a minor piece. Knight takes c4, pawn takes c4, bishop takes c4, and we get e4 pawn. So after taking with the bishop, he has to push e5. We don't have b5 now because of bishop g5. And he gets to take on c4. Now we're just going to try to play against the d4 pawn, which is their main source of their main weakness. Not so sure if the bishop belongs on d5. That's usually a square for the knight. I'm gonna go knight d7 to. I'm gonna try to trade off a knight. This knight are quite good. And our dark squares are quite weak, but we do take his pawn on b4, and his center is falling apart, and he's lost a bunch of pawns. I'm gonna try to trade down in this position. His knight's pinned, and we always have some checks available as resources. Yeah, so here I think I just went for the piece on e4. I'm not too worried about queen takes f7 because I have the corner to hide in. You know, queen takes g6, maybe queen g7 or something. But here I take this knight. Oh, no, I don't. I actually went for the fork instead. And that's fine. We're trading down to a winning endgame. Yeah, so here we're just gonna the winning position, but how fast are we on the clock? Yep, check. I mop up his last pawn. Try to get a queen now. Yeah, so here I think I stalemated when he took on e2. So this is a textbook Botvinnik system win against another candidate master. Smilo over here. CM Smilo. And I do the normal setup, and he wastes a move with c6, c5 for a King's Indian setup, so now he's just behind by a move. I go for the f5, g4 kind of idea, and trying to just storm his king side. And here we target put pressure on h6, which he has to defend with king h7. And our idea, I guess, here is not very clear how to proceed, but we do have a bit of an advantage. But now I run into the fork, and now we're down in exchange. But still, the position is somewhat okay for us because everything's locked up, and we all have all those nice outposts for my knight to get into maybe someday with either of the knights. And I guess I'm still playing for a kingside storm with g5 in mind. I guess this isn't that textbook because we kind of blundered, but the ending will be quite textbook. Now he's a bit of a trouble here. I guess he's going to take on g4. And do I keep my bishop? I guess I do. Yeah, so we're going to completely break through on the king side. And his king side weakness is exposed, and it's much worse than mine. And I'm going to get a knight onto d5 if I remove his knight on f6. I think here, yeah. So this line, I'm showing a line with queen g5, not working that well. Not sure why I didn't go rook takes f6, but maybe this is fine too. Because if he moves his knight, we're going to put a knight on d5. It's very bad for him. Obviously, queen e7 runs into knight d5. And yeah, quite difficult for him to play from here. And I guess we bring the knight in now to d5. Oh, yeah, that's what I did. I didn't go bishop takes g4, which might also be fine, but this is more forcing. And what did I do here? Oh, I brought the rook in. Interesting, yeah. I think I remember this. I brought the rook in, and he can't take because of, you know, knight takes f6, forking it, but now I got the rook check. And yeah, we got a very nice bunch of sacrifice in play. Yeah, we give up our last bishop, and we're gonna win in style, so, yep. Very nice win, I guess. And he resigns. So here we're playing white against FIDE Master Royal Blue. He starts with the touch move, but it kind of transposes into kingside f5 system, e5 f5 system. I'm still going to try a Botvinnik system against this. Maybe take on f5 and push d4. But here he pushed f4 and tries to break open my structure, but he didn't retake it, and he just went for tried to bring his queen in, which is interesting to say the least. I'm going to try to threaten queen g5 and swap queens and weaken his attacking potential on my king side. So maybe he should play h6 here to stop my queen g5 idea. He's taking his time. Okay. So he plays knight d4. I was going to say if he plays knight g4, we got h3, but now we can just go queen g5 and try to swap off the queens. And yeah, here we're gonna take and then play h3 to kick his knight maybe. Okay, we try to kick his knight with bishop h3. What do we do here? Yeah, so I bring his knight back out. I guess back to f6. And we'll try to swap off his other minor pieces because we do have a pawn advantage. Okay, so bishop e3 seems reasonable, bringing the bishop out. Oh, but we do run into the fork. And okay. But I guess a pawn on e3 isn't too terrible. It got some important d4 and f4 squares. And yeah, we can still, this game, we can still win. Okay, so knight d5. He doesn't have time to go g4, trapping our bishop because we're going to swap off his knight. It's going to be tough to win this game, but I think our position has some winning chances. I guess here are we trying to provoke h6 in the future? And then bring our rook back. Not sure if that achieves anything though. So now we have to stop h5 again, I guess, for some reason. And we just put a pawn on g4. And maybe now try to start looking at prospects on the queen side. So now we're gaining space and we also have a very huge time advantage. Here we have to kind of be careful not to lock it out, but now we can break through on the A file. Not sure if this necessarily leads to a winning advantage, but he's got no time. And now we can go through the king side. Yeah. So this is a winning pawn endgame, and he's also running out of time. Our next game is against international master Wilson Palencia. I'm not sure if that's the right way to pronounce it. Here we go for English opening, and we're doing the Botvinnik setup once again, the Botvinnik system. And here, because he hasn't pushed the E pawn, I think the F4 plan is less strong. But if he pushes e5, we might have an opportunity, but I guess he doesn't do that here. So we have to play around d4. And I guess this move is alright. We can close our hole on d4 and play on the queen side. And by playing b5, we've locked up the structure. And here we swap off. I guess we don't swap off, actually. I didn't swap off here, which is... I actually like that. I think it's a good decision to keep the dark square bishop. Our dark square bishop is actually quite useful to us, whereas his one is kind of locked in his cage and blocked by the d4 pawn. So yeah, we swap off the light square bishop, and he's trying to break through. And we trade off rooks, and we have some play on the light squares, or some control of the light squares, and we're threatening e6. Not sure if that's that strong of a threat, but we got a bit of a weakness on c4, but we can also target d4. So he takes here, and yeah, this is quite a sharp position and open position. I think now I'm just trying to get into a rook endgame with takes, queen takes, pawn takes, and try to play against the d pawn, but I guess we might lose to c pawn now because he's going to go d2. We're going to lose the a pawn, but then we can go put our rook, I guess, on the 7th rank later if his king doesn't get out. But now we're just going to go after b6 and maybe rook b7 makes sense. I guess I went king here instead. Now he's thinking, because I might go f5 with king f6 in my king f6 in mind, but now I can't. I'm gonna go pawn. Oh, I still go rook b7 now, kick him back to the 8th rank, and then king f6 now maybe. I guess not. Just trade off those pawns. Now this is a nice situations for us. We got some winning chances. His king is stuck in the corner. We're both low on time though. Yeah, this is a bit complicated rook endgame, but I guess maybe not, because now we get to bring our king to f6. Or he has to swap rooks. So now we're threatening rook e8. He has to probably go rook a8. Or that one. King f8 also work. And Now it might just be a draw, but because we're kind of in the corner. And a bit of a time scramble. And we got, yeah, our king is stuck in the corner, and I think I'm still trying to go for the win, and that's why now h7 is dropping. And I'm going to be down on time. And now he's going to flag me. So here we have a game against another FM. And we're going to play the same setup, the Ovenic system in the English. Here he's committed with e5, so f5 becomes much stronger, and we're gonna have a very strong pin on his knight on f6. And here I take with bishop because I can't take with the knight now. I have to get my queen out of the pin. So I'm gonna look to play queen e2 and now take on queen d2 and now take on e2. And yeah, he has to get out of the pin with d5 and queen d6. Now I guess I have to go bishop takes f6 and take advantage of the fact that my white square bishop can't be contested by his dark square bishop when there's pressure on the king. I probably should have went for something like queen e4, queen g6, take advantage of the pin, but this is fine too. So he's taking his time, maybe he's thinking about playing e4. He does, and then I go for b3 because I didn't want to allow any counterplay with rook takes b2. And now I've got to have to deal with this pawn. He's going to defend it with bishop d4. Oh no, bishop c3 first. But that's fine. I think I'm gonna get my king out of the pin, but I can take on f7 first. I think here I take with bishop, because taking with rook has queen takes d5, king takes d5. Maybe it's hard to play with the queen against the bishop and the rook when there's such a pawn on e3, but yeah. Here he has an open king. And we're going to trade off pieces. We're going to trade off rooks. And we're going to try to trade off queens, maybe. I think the opposite colored endgame will be quite interesting, but we do have some chances. So we do go for the opposite colored bishop endgame, and it's not always just a draw. Black still has to play to try to hold it. And my bishop is preventing entry of his king. And now I can go for the A pawn or the C pawn, so one of those should drop. Then I go king C6, followed by king B5. And he's gonna trap us in a low corner here. But I think that's fine. So we got B4 coming after A3. And this just should be, I think it should be winning for us. Okay, maybe could have played D4 there, but okay. Oh, did I miss? Did he have E2? Okay, it's probably lucky he didn't see that. And now I can play on the king side. Okay, I guess I'm rerouting my bishop to E2. And pushing the kingside pawns. That should be game. And yeah. This game we're playing back against another CM, and we're playing the Carol Khan classical variation. And with the H5 push, and we're gonna trade on D3 and E6. Here is my preparation has queen A5 followed by bringing the bishop to B4 and back to E7. Okay, that's kind of interesting. We're gonna hit his bishop and take control of the F4 square. So here we're gonna try to make a pawn break in the center. And play opposite side castling. Okay, it's starting to get a bit messy. Maybe not, maybe just queen takes here, and I think we're doing okay. We can castle on the king side and probably hold. These positions are very interesting from what I've looked at. Now we get a pawn on g4, but we are opening our king side to potential attacks. And we have to defend quite accurately. So we bring our king out of the g-file. Yeah, we're defending it with rook g8. I think bishop d2 would have been very interesting, but I guess it just loses the rook. Yeah, that means loses the knight. We have to look out for, because he's bringing the rook closer to the to defend f3. Not sure what the idea of that move is. It's not immediately obvious, but now he's under a pin, and now I can pin this rook, and he's going to lose his rook, and now it's game over for him. The pin on d3 is very deadly. In this game, we're playing against an FM, Rio Cyberbird, and I guess now we have to play a different English line where, okay, we're kind of misplayed this a bit, and we're gonna get kicked back with by d4, but yeah, queen takes c6 runs into bishop d7, and our knight's also getting hit, so we have to bring our knight back. Not sure we're loving this position. They have the bishop pair and some interesting pawns. That might be an advantage, depending on how it's used. I didn't play queen takes c6 yet, because I guess bishop d7 kicks me around, but maybe I should have just taken the pawn. And here I take a pawn, which is surprising. I guess that's fine. I guess knight f3 just threatens to take a pawn, and we're still going to be up material, and now we bring our bishop out. We castle. In here, black has a lot of activities, and his bishop can get really dangerous. I'm not sure if I like this position that much, and we're losing the other bishop now. And he's going to take on b2. So, yeah, things haven't gone well for us in the opening. You can probably go queen takes a2 now. And he's still hitting e2. Not sure why he went there. Trying to trade queens. Maybe I should trade queens now. Rook e8 is pretty annoying. So what am I doing? Oh. c4 might be annoying, but he doesn't see it, I guess. Now I should put a knight on c4 myself. Maybe I went for greed. Yeah, so this isn't played very well by me, I think, but we're still hanging on, and he's getting low on time. I probably should have played knight e4 last move, but now we're gonna be a bit of a weird spot. I feel like rook e8 maybe, I don't know. And he's getting quite low on time. So our position's definitely not better. It might even be worse. I missed knight e5 here, I think. Here he's just gonna run out of time, and I'm gonna, I guess, consolidate. See, I don't like this move. It's gonna consolidate my position, but he probably has some f5, putting more pressure on the pin against my king on g2. The bishop on c6, but now my king gets out, and yeah. He's just gonna lose in time. So here's a game against an international master, Papillon. I'm not sure if that's the right way to say it. We go for King's Indian attack, the KIA, and yeah, so our setup is the KIA, but not really sure the plan here against the Sicilian setup. I think it's just going to be a slow maneuvering game. We're going to try to maybe gain some space. Oh, and I think I just allowed d4, which is kind of bad for us. And obviously, I don't think he can take on... I mean, he can take on h5, but then that gives us the f5 square. But here we're going to trade on d5. And yeah. We're going to bring our pieces to better square, rook d1. After bishop e3. Yeah, I still think he's not going to take on h5 because that's going to let us have knight h4 and knight f5, which is a very good square for our knight, even though we're giving up a pawn. And yeah, oh, he does take it indeed, so we're going to get this good square for our knight on f5. And we're going to try to grab the h6 pawn. And we're going to bring it back to d2. And now we'll give king e2 a go. Bishop takes, king takes, and we'll get to c4 maybe before they do. And now we'll go after the black pawns with b6, etc. So we take, I think we take on f5, and knight c4 threatens to win a pawn. So he's threatening to play e3, which is kind of tricky. I'm not sure if I needed to go king e2, because if he push e3, I guess not this move. So maybe king e2 is fine, but now I'm going to take on b6, and he is going to get... Oh, he doesn't get my g3 pawn with knight takes g3. I'm going to push it on g4 and force him to take that and bring it closer to the center. Right. If he push h4, I'd probably take the knight and my king can stop it. So now I have to stop the g3 pawn, but g3 pawn, but it's much closer to my king. Oh, did I just allow? Okay, I pushed this, or what did I do? I think I just probably, with the time, I probably just sacked the knight for. Yeah, I probably sacked the knight here to get the g pawn so we don't lose the game. And he probably has knight e1 here, but he didn't do it, so now I think my pawn are too far away for him. But yeah, maybe could have. Guess I bring my king to e3. Then knight d5. Then what about pawn takes pawn and pawn takes knight takes on b or on b4? But okay, he didn't do that, and now I get a win. So the final highlight game that we're gonna look at is a game against 2400 FM. We play the exchange Carol, and he goes for knight e5. Exchange on c6 when I go knight c6. And now we'll have a pretty solid center. I'm not sure if c5 is premature because of d takes c5, bishop takes c5, queen b5, knight d7 might be fine, but I think this is also fine. We're gonna go after the c6 pawn, try to reclaim it, and say that we have a better, stronger pawn center. Here he's trying to hold on c6, but I think bishop d6 gains a tempo, followed by bishop e5. And if bishop c3, knight e4, we're going to ruin his pawn structure. We're threatening to ruin his pawn structure, and he's in a bit of trouble here. Now we take on c3, and he has triple pawns. I'm not sure if I like taking on d4 immediately. I think rook b8 and rook b6 might have been fine, putting pressure on the c6 pawn. Here, in the double rook endgame, it might just be a draw, but we have some pressure against the c3 pawn. So we have some chances, I think. So here a pair of rooks get swapped off. We're going to put some pressure on a3, and his rook is going to be a bit passive on b3. It's not clear how we're going to make progress though. I think pawn is fine on a7 to defend b6 from any rook b6 threatening my d6 pawn in the future. So rook a5 is just a bit of a waiting move. And now a bunch of pawns are going to go off the board. G takes f6, king takes f6, rook a4, threatening e5. Not sure how strong that is. Now, maybe we can go e5. If d takes e5, rook takes g4. But I didn't do that. Instead, now we just trade a bunch of pawns. And I have an extra pawn, and maybe I can try to play for e4, e3. But I guess I went for the g6 pawn, but that allows a defensive resource by him in rook f5. Rook f5, king takes f5, king takes g3, king takes g6, and he goes king f4 and gets my e4 pawn. So I can't defend the e4 pawn, and now I think the game is just going to be a draw. So thanks for watching my video and listening to my commentary on the highlight games that I played in the Lichess Titled Arena in July. I think there were a lot of interesting games. We finished 350th out of an 899. But there were almost 900 people. And I think we did quite well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe.